What's for dinner?
Come on, guys. Move it. Feel better?
Goldie Hawn isn't just a Hollywood star. She's one of the last true icons of an era that could make the world laugh with a single wink and leave it silent with a single tear. For more than half a century, she redefined what it meant to be a woman in Hollywood. She wasn't just the dumb blonde producers tried to box her into. She became a symbol of independence, resilience, and power. But here's the part most people don't realize. Behind the legendary smile and sparkling laugh, Goldie's life has always been a storm of triumph and tragedy. And today, at 79, those storms have grown harder than ever. Fading health, fractured memory, and painful truths that can't be hidden anymore. So how did it all begin? How did a little girl from Washington, D.C. rise to become an Oscar-winning star? And why has her journey taken such a heartbreaking turn? Stay with me, because Goldie's story is filled with moments you'll never forget. Before we dive in, I want to know, what's the first movie that made you fall in love with Goldie Hawn? Was it Private Benjamin, Overboard, or maybe The First Wives Club? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll be checking. Now, let's go back to where it all started. Goldie Jean Hawn entered the world on November 21st, 1945 in Washington, D.C. But her life was marked by both joy and sorrow from the very beginning. Her father, Edward, was a band musician whose family line stretched all the way back to a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Her mother, Laura, the daughter of Hungarian Jewish immigrants, ran a small dance school where discipline and creativity went hand in hand. But here's the part the world rarely talks about. Before Goldie was even born, her parents lost a son, a brother she never met. That silent grief stayed in the family, and though no one spoke of it, it left a quiet imprint on Goldie's soul. From the age of 3, she was already in her mother's studio, tiny ballet slippers squeaking against the floor. By 10, she was performing in the Nutcracker with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, her first taste of a real stage with real lights and real applause. And once she felt that spotlight, she wanted more. At 19, she shocked everyone. Instead of finishing college, she dropped out of drama studies at American University and opened her own ballet school. Think about that for a second. While most young women her age were following the safe path, Goldie was already building her own stage, her own rules. It was a bold move, but it showed exactly who she was: independent, daring, and unwilling to wait for permission. Looking back, it's clear. Goldie wasn't meant to follow anyone else's choreography. She wasn't born just to dance to a rhythm. She wanted the world to dance to hers. And soon, she would risk everything on a cross-country leap that could have left her stranded or turned her into a star. Quick question for you. Do you think you'd have the courage to leave everything behind for a dream like Goldie did? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. By the time Goldie turned 21, she was restless. Ballet gave her discipline, but it didn't give her the stage she craved. So, with only $250 to rename, and after spending $200 of it on a tiny poodle, she made a decision that would change everything. She packed her bags, left the East Coast, and boarded a one-way flight to California. Now picture this. She's alone, broke, with a poodle in her lap and just $50 left in her pocket. On the way, her old Chevrolet broke down in the middle of the desert. Most people would have turned back right there, but not Goldie. Stranded on the side of the road, she trusted a hitchhiker, a Vietnam veteran, to get her safely through. It was risky, even dangerous, but that moment set the tone for her entire career. Goldie had a gift for turning disasters into stories worth retelling. Her first jobs in California weren't glamorous. She danced on small stages, took background roles, and scraped together auditions. In 1967, she landed a part in the sitcom Good Morning World. But instead of being praised for her talent, Hollywood shoved her into a box. She was typecast as the dumb blonde, a cute caricature meant to get laughs, nothing more. But fate wasn't done with her yet. Just a year later, she joined Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. That's where everything changed. Goldie's infectious giggle, her bikini-clad dances, even her psychedelic body paint made her an overnight sensation. By 1969, she wasn't just another actress. She was a pop culture goddess of the late 60s. Now picture this. She's alone, broke, with a poodle in her lap and just $50 left in her pocket. On the way, her old Chevrolet broke down in the middle of the desert. Most people would have turned back right there. But not Goldie. Stranded on the side of the road, she trusted a hitchhiker, a Vietnam veteran, to get her safely through. It was risky, even dangerous, but that moment set the tone for her entire career. Goldie had a gift for turning disasters into stories worth retelling. Goldie's big break came faster than anyone could have predicted. In 1969, she was cast in Cactus Flower. On paper, it was just a supporting role, a young woman named Toni Simmons caught up in a complicated love story. But Goldie played her with such innocence, wit, and vulnerability that she stole every scene. The film cost just over $3 million to make, and it exploded at the box office, grossing more than 8 times that. And when Oscar night arrived, something unbelievable happened. Goldie Hawn's name was called. She had won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her very first major film role. The twist? She wasn't even there. Goldie was in London filming another movie and had completely forgotten the Oscars were even happening. At 4 a.m., she got a phone call waking her up with the news. It was the kind of fairy tale beginning that only happens once in a generation. But the victory came with a shadow. Hollywood still wanted to lock her into the dumb blonde mold. They thought she was only good for laughs. Goldie, however, had other plans. She wasn't going to be anyone's punchline. By the mid-1970s, she was starring in serious roles in films like The Sugarland Express and Shampoo. And soon, she wasn't just starring, she was producing her own projects, something almost unheard of for women at the time. She lived by a simple motto: "Don't tell me I can't, just watch me." And she proved it again and again. Quick question. Do you think winning an Oscar early in her career was a blessing or a curse? Did it set her up for greatness or put impossible pressure on her? Share your thoughts below. I want to hear what you think. Because as Goldie's fame skyrocketed, so did the pressure, and the next decade would test her in ways she never expected. By the 1980s, Goldie Hawn wasn't just a star, she was a powerhouse. She had transformed from a bubbly TV personality into one of the few women in Hollywood who could both lead a film and make sure it got made. Her turning point came with Private Benjamin in 1980. Studio executives hated the idea. Nobody wants to see a women-led army comedy, they scoffed. But Goldie didn't back down. Not only did she star in the film, she produced it. And when the original director quit, Goldie took control, bringing in a new one and shaping the project herself. The result? A $9 million film that grossed nearly $70 million and earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. She had proven every critic wrong. From there, the hits kept coming. Best Friends, Swing Shift, Overboard with Kurt Russell, and Bird on a Wire with Mel Gibson. Her career hit its commercial peak in 1996 with The First Wives Club. With a $26 million budget, it brought in $181 million worldwide. And for the first time in Hollywood history, 3 women, Goldie, Bette Midler, and Diane Keaton, shared the screen as equals, thanks to a pact Goldie herself pushed for. By the end of the 1990s, Goldie's films had grossed more than $2 billion adjusted for inflation. She wasn't just an actress anymore. She was an institution. Imagine this for a second. Hollywood once thought she was nothing more than a blonde sidekick. But within 2 decades, she became one of the most bankable stars in the world. Do you think modern Hollywood still underestimates women the way it did back then? Tell me what you think. But while audiences saw the glamour and success, Goldie's private life was far more turbulent, and her romances brought as much drama as her films. Goldie's love life could have been a movie in itself, filled with passion, betrayal, and heartbreak. Her first marriage to dancer Gus Triconis seemed full of promise. They even share the same birthday. But Goldie's career took off just as Gus's stalled, and the marriage quietly unraveled. By 1973, they had separated. Then came musician Bill Hudson. At first, it looked like a whirlwind romance. They married in 1976 and had 2 children, Oliver and Kate. But the marriage turned bitter fast. Bill accused Goldie of wanting an open marriage. Goldie accused him of jealousy over her success. By 1980, it was over. The bitterness lingered for decades. In 2015, Oliver Hudson posted a photo on Father's Day with the caption, "Happy Abandonment Day," taking a direct jab at Bill. The feud exploded in public, with Bill disowning both Oliver and Kate in a magazine interview. It was a family rift that still casts a shadow today. But out of the heartbreak came Goldie's most enduring love story, Kurt Russell. They met in the late 60s, but sparks didn't fly until 1983 when they started together in Swing Shift. On their first date, they accidentally broke into a house they were viewing and ended up being caught by police. Instead of disaster, it became the start of a love story that's lasted more than 40 years. They never married, not because they didn't believe in commitment, but because they believed in choice. As Goldie once said, "Every morning I choose him, and he chooses me." Do you think their decision not to marry was the secret to keeping their relationship strong in Hollywood? Or do you think marriage could have changed everything? Share your take in the comments. Because while their romance became legendary, their children were about to create legacies of their own. If Goldie and Kurt's love story is Hollywood's favorite romance, then their children are the sequel, each with their own storyline, quirks, and legacy. First came Oliver Hudson, born in 1976. You've probably seen him on TV in shows like Rules of Engagement, Nashville, or The Cleaning Lady. But what really sets him apart is his humor. Goldie once admitted, "Oliver is even funnier than me, and that's saying something." He co-hosts the podcast Sibling Revelry with his sister Kate, where they spill family secrets with such honesty that fans sometimes blush. Off-screen, Oliver is a dedicated father of 3, Wilder, Bodie, and little Rio. And yes, he admits he loves embarrassing his kids any chance he gets. Then there's Kate Hudson, born in 1979, Goldie's golden child. She inherited not just her mother's smile, but her charisma. Her role as Penny Lane in Almost Famous earned her a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination. And she became a rom-com queen with hits like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and Bride Wars. But behind the glamour, Kate has always credited her mother for teaching her one simple rule: never speak badly of your child's father. That principle shaped her own journey as a mom of 3, with children from different relationships, but always with love and respect at the center. Next is Boston Russell, Kurt's son from his previous marriage. Boston is the quiet one, the mystery in the family. He's avoided Hollywood fame, living his life out of the spotlight. But don't mistake silence for distance. Boston has always been a steady presence in their blended family. Kate often says that meeting Boston as a child was the moment she realized Kurt wasn't just her mom's boyfriend, he was going to be the man who shaped her life too. And finally, Wyatt Russell, Goldie and Kurt's youngest, born in 1886. He grew up watching his parents on screen, but carved his own path, first as a professional hockey player and later as an actor. You might recognize him from 22 Jump Street, or more recently as John Walker in Marvel's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Off-screen, Wyatt is now a father himself, raising 2 little boys and proudly calling Kurt the best grandfather he could have asked for. Here's something for you. Do you think it's harder for kids of Hollywood legends to succeed because of the weight of their parents' names, or easier because of the doors that fame opens? I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. But while Goldie's children became her safe haven, Hollywood itself was never so kind, and in time, she revealed just how many enemies she made behind the scenes. For decades, Goldie Hawn kept her image polished, smiling, gracious, never publicly feuding. But at 79, she finally admitted there were 6 people in Hollywood she despised working with. And the names shocked everyone. First was Kirk Douglas, a legend to the world, but, to Goldie, condescending and arrogant. Even after her Oscar win, he treated her like decoration, interrupting her in meetings and belittling her ideas. The breaking point came when he mocked her mid-presentation. Goldie closed her notebook, stood up, and walked out, for good. Then came Warren Beatty, Hollywood's charmer and notorious womanizer. He pursued Goldie relentlessly, showering her with compliments and private invitations. When she declined, his warmth turned cold, and rumors spread that she was difficult. It cost her roles, but she never bowed. Years later, when they crossed paths, she gave him nothing more than a cold smile. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer. Chevy Chase was next. On screen, they were a hit in Foul Play. Off screen, Chevy constantly interrupted her lines, mocked her, and demanded changes to make himself look better. The movie became a classic, but Goldie refused every offer to work with him again. Then Bill Murray. What was supposed to be a dream collaboration turned into a nightmare. He arrived late, dismissed the script, and sneered at her dramatic performance. "Why don't you try acting like you've ever done drama before?" Goldie didn't argue. She simply walked out and withdrew from the project. From then on, she swore off working with chaos agents. Sean Penn was worse. At a mental health fundraiser, an issue close to Goldie's heart, he openly mocked her speech. She didn't respond. She just smiled, raised her glass, and cut him out of her life entirely. And finally, Dustin Hoffman. During an audition, he interrupted her mid-performance, laughing that she was still acting like a sitcom star. The room chuckled, but Goldie kept her dignity. The next day, she withdrew from the project. Her message was clear. Respect isn't something she would beg for. 6 powerful men, 6 clashes, 1 pattern. Goldie never played Hollywood's power games. She didn't fight, she didn't shout, she simply walked away. And in doing so, she protected her dignity, her peace, and her career. For years, Goldie stepped away from Hollywood's spotlight. She appeared only occasionally, like in The Banger Sisters in 2002, or much later in Netflix's The Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell. Fans wondered if she had retired. Then came the 2025 Oscars. Goldie, glowing as always, walked the red carpet hand in hand with Kurt. On stage, she was joined by Andrew Garfield to present an award. The crowd erupted with warmth. It was Goldie, back at the center of Hollywood. But then came the moment no one expected. As she looked at the teleprompter, she turned to Garfield and said softly, "Sweetheart, could you read that?" "I can't. I'm completely blind. Cataracts." The audience gasped. Some thought she was joking. Others realized she wasn't. She still delivered the winner's name with her trademark charm, but the whispers had already started. Was it her health? Her memory? Something worse? Online reactions flooded in. Some said it was just age. Others speculated about medication. One comment read, "It's sad to see Goldie like this. Age eventually reaches us all." And that's the truth. Time spares no one, not even legends. Goldie has always been open about the challenges of aging, but seeing it play out live on the world's biggest stage left fans heartbroken. And yet, in that vulnerable moment, she still managed to remind us why we love her, because even in fragility, she remained honest, witty, and unafraid. Here's a question for you. Do you think stars should step away before moments like this happen on stage, or should they stay visible no matter what? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Because as her health fades, what remains most powerful about Goldie Hawn isn't just her career, it's her legacy. Goldie Hawn's life is proof that behind every laugh, there's a silence, and behind every smile, a story. From a little girl in ballet slippers to an Oscar-winning actress, from turbulent marriages to a 4-decade love with Kurt Russell, from comedy to box office power, she did it all on her own terms. She broke free from the dumb blonde stereotype and showed Hollywood what resilience looks like. She raised children who carried her legacy forward, not just in fame, but in values. And she taught generations of actresses that you don't have to play Hollywood's games to survive. You just have to know when to walk away. At 79, time has taken its toll. Her eyes, her memory, her health may falter, but that spirit, that laugh, that glow, still shines. And maybe that's why she feels closer to us now than ever. Not as a perfect star, but as a fragile human being who lived boldly, loved deeply, and refused to be defined by anyone else. So let me leave you with this. Which Goldie Hawn moment lives in your memory? Was it the laugh on Laugh-In, the grit of Private Benjamin, or the timeless charm of Overboard? Share it in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you want more stories of Hollywood legends, their triumphs, their heartbreaks, and the truths hidden behind the lights, make sure to hit subscribe, because this is only the beginning, and there are so many stories still to come.